Johnny, I heard that you were looking to hire someone in a role for managing Excel or doing Excel programs for like $150,000 a year.
$150,000 a year to literally do what James does in his sleep.
What? It's a
That's
lot of money,
insane.
bro.
A lot.
That's insane.
Give me a call, man.
Like crazy, James.
You got. I mean, you just got to be able to know what you're talking about. Like literally.
James, you got his number? Give him a call.
Yeah, but I saw recently that people are using Chat GPT to run like equations, and I just saw someone that had a crazy long equation that they basically Chat GPT figured out, threw it in, and it was like
When you say equation, you talking about like a math equation or like if statements?
no, like when you're in
Like
Excel.
If you look up,
Oh,
Look
yeah, like when you're in
Pivot
Excel
table.
and you're like, basically, I have this set of data and I want to find the X solution with X data. What is the best equation to do that? And it gives you like the equals and then your equation
oh,
for
okay,
the cell.
I got you.
And then it creates that formula and you can just run with it. But like some of those equations are hard. Like it's just, even
Oh yeah, I mean, you got like all these regression equations and hypothesis tests and confidence intervals, all this shit that you have to
Yeah.
set up in Excel. You can do all this stuff, but they also have some pretty cool analytics like plugins that you can run, and it'll just run a whole regression for you. You just need to be able to interpret the data.
we use Google Sheets a lot, which is the same.
Yeah,
thing.
we know you love Google.
Yeah, I do like Google.
You love Google.
The real,
Oh.
I mean, I could be
It's
wrong
easy.
about this because I don't know. I've done data for a long time now, but the most impressive data analysis people that I've come across are ones that not only know how to make the calculations and build the visualizations and do all the business analytics and intelligence tools and stuff, but to be able to interpret it.
Explain it in layman's terms.
Yeah, you need to take t-test, p-values, r-squared values, and be able to say, what does this fucking all mean to an executive?
Yeah.
And where's the value add from a business perspective to make business decisions? Because that's all it is. You're
Dumb it
curating
down.
something to help them make a decision.
You're breaking down data.
Yeah.
You know
they're
what's
the
incredible?
strategy and the innovators.
Oh, John, what is incredible?
It's incredible how, as we've gotten older, our conversations change and turn into more business
So
conversation.
now work has,
Professionalism.
work
this
has
and that.
changed us.
It has, but I mean, in different ways, and as you can tell, as from many different angles. I mean, we all have different perspectives.
How we simply conduct our friendship.
Yeah, our conversations have changed drastically.
Yeah.
Which is great.
I
for
mean,
the
we
better.
still curse up a storm,
Of
but
course.
Nothing wrong with
it's
that.
just we're.
I mean,
I don't know.
think about your first week at your first job getting out of college and then where you're at today, 5, 6
Deer in the
7
headlights.
years later. Oh gosh.
Deer in headlights.
Oh,
Goodness gracious.
Dude,
Not
I,
knowing what to do.
I didn't know how to make coffee. My trainer had to show me how to make coffee and to send a fax.
Okay,
like,
like
how, like
what kind of
Not a Keurig. Let's not get old school coffee. People don't know how to make that today.
Oh, you're talking about
Actually-
with the folders cup?
yeah, we were away somewhere.
Filter.
With coffee.
I'm over there. I'm trying to get a pick me up, and I'm like,
Well, what do we-
Emma, help.
What do we do now when we get Airbnbs?
Make sure they got a Keurig.
I'm saying.
That's it.
Yeah, we were somewhere and we had that like old fashioned coffee, like
Colorado.
Yeah, wherever.
So
we
from
were, it
there
was
to
awesome.
these big professional conversations, look at us, guys. Pat yourself on the back. Great job.
Yeah,
How far we've come.
Yeah.
We've been in the workforce, and it's not long by no means, but it's 7 years.
7
years,
7
yeah.
plus years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What were your first days like? First weeks, first experiences?
Well, I think it's kind of unique. One, for the most part, all of us are with the same company, and then obviously
Yeah.
someone's a business owner. Cool
Yeah.
kid. And cool kid.
Well, no, Kenny, didn't you start at Wells?
Yeah, he started at Wells.
yeah. I started at Wells. I started doing finance, which I had a pre-med major, minor in finance, but I started in finance, and I just figured that it was a good opportunity, which then led to Patty and I being down in Florida again. But yeah, it was cool. It was the guy who hired me. I thought was going to be there to for the signing day of starting up. He just wasn't there at all, and I went out to lunch with a bunch of guys that I had never met. So it was definitely awkward, I would say, for a first day. I'm like, you're not prepped to just be in a random place with random people doing things where your expectations are to be super professional the whole time, and you have no idea how to act. So it is difficult. It's different. And it kind of
Onboarding is an art.
Oh, goodness.
It's an art.
It
You
is.
can either curate the greatest week for this person to really feel like they're comfortable, they get things going, or you can just make them feel like, holy crap, what did I just do?
Yeah.
yeah. For me, it was like these were older guys, and they were just like, yeah, whatever, they didn't really they weren't really like super pressuring or anything like that. I think that was their way of making me feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it doesn't have to be super stressful, which worked because they were just like, okay, let's go out to eat to lunch every day.
I think it's important that when you do start with the new role, like that onboarding experience is great because that can make or break. And unfortunately, a lot of companies probably, especially now with the whole remote force and the remote work thing, it's just difficult. But I mean, I had a great onboarding experience to the original question. The first week was awesome. However, you know, like you said, you got to brush up on a lot of different things. I had my first pair of dress shoes 3 days in, you know, starting to get some blisters. Took off my left dress shoe, got called into pretty much the principal's office. You know, why are you taking your shoes off at work? Listen, there's a story behind it, but
That's funny. I go to the other side too. Like you could create the greatest onboarding plan, but the new hire themselves coming in, you got to come in with that mentality that you know you're here to kick ass. You got a great opportunity. You're going to take advantage of it. Not everyone comes in with that mentality. So whether it's a good onboarding setup or not, there's got to be responsibility on the individual coming in to take advantage of that opportunity too.
I was so nervous.
yeah,
I
for sure.
I was so nervous. Like I was excited. Don't get me wrong. I was excited because it took like 6 months for me to find my first job out of college.
That's true.
But, I was just because you don't know what to expect. Like this is new. Like you've had internships, and you know some are.
Mm-hmm.
It varies. Internships, you're usually just doing coffee runs.
Yeah,
Still important though.
It is.
It's critical.
But yeah, man, it was. I felt like such a scrub. Like at that time, couldn't afford nice clothes, so like my dress clothes were like. I mean, I have a body like SpongeBob, just very square, so like dress shirts don't fit well on me.
Yeah, I get that. It's like super
SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob Square.
Good enough. Good enough. Good.
Sure.
I feel you on that though. Like once I got that fitted shirt,
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you also gain a little bit of weight like me, and just
Become
nothing
fat?
fits. Dude, I got so fat.
Dude, you
I
get
gained,
back, but you did.
I
You
gained
did.
a lot of
You
weight.
did.
When you
Since-
first started working,
Yeah.
Dude, I gained like 40 pounds.
'Cause it was
in my first like 2 years.
you were stressing yourself out over work a lot, right?
Stressing out. I also
Also
got
commuting
I-
from Port Orange like an hour.
Yeah. I also got free lunch every day, so that was a game changer. You know, downtown eating fried food every day.
Yeah.
Well, so now that we're on the other side, and a lot of people, we onboard a lot of people now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what would you say if you were to give advice to someone that's about to go through that process now, or tell yourself way back when how you should have acted and done yourself? What would you tell yourself now that you would have done differently than how it all went down?
I promise you this was not planned because of your stupid SpongeBob reference. I would tell them be a sponge.
Yeah.
Because it was not planned, but coming in,
It's one of the first things I learned.
you know, you want to take a little bit from everyone. You're going to meet a lot of different people, a lot of probably people that have been in that role or in that environment for a long time, and they're partnered with you because they've had success, and now it's their job to show you the path, and you're just supposed to take it in, man, because you got to come in not knowing anything, and even if you know a little bit or think you do, you got to come in humble, coachable, open-minded, and taking in that information, take a little bit from each individual, mix it up, and, you know, start creating your brand.
Question.
Yes.
That's it.
And don't be shy if you don't know what the heck's going on.
And I think that's where, especially for me at least, one of the biggest challenges I've always had is like I feel silly if I'm asking a question. Where it's like, dude, ask away. Ask a lot of questions. That's one thing I admire about people who've been in the workforce that come to my company and they've been with, you know, major organizations, and like you said, they soak it up like a sponge and they're not afraid to ask maybe the obvious question and they crush it.
A lot of times in that setting too, the obvious question is on everyone else's mind. People are afraid to ask it.
For sure.
And the person asking the question is answering it not just for themselves, but for 10, 15 other people.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely.
Spitting facts, Salimos.
Hey, what's
The other thing too, though, from the perspective of the person who is the onboarder, the one thing that I've concentrated on is not overwhelming the person. Like it's easy to be like, okay, here's all of these things our company does, but try to take a step back and like break it up over a multi-day process and dwindle it down. And I try to like tier it. Like day one, it's super simple.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
just the basics, more just filling out paperwork and doing like logistics. And then you start getting into things. Like it takes like a week for us to get like warmed up. So I just break it down a lot.
I don't know if you guys got this when you first started your companies, but like just a booklet of logins. That seems so overwhelming. Like, okay, so I have this login for this.
access, credentials, badging, like
Oh, that's something my company doesn't do anymore is the badging.
We do.
Because of
a
like a
more
lot of remote
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I wish we did that again because I really need to update my icon. My avatars.
your avatar.
I have a goatee.
Real.
Yeah, that's how old it is.
No.
Tough phase of life. Go to.
All right.
Hey, be nice over there, dude.
Sorry.
Well, it is.
That
a
welcome
process.
package is daunting.
It's a good point. It's a lot too.
Mhm.
It's like a freaking dictionary.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
also like, I mean, what am I going to give you 3 credentials a day? I see the aspect of it.
100%. I think it's integrating each software that has that credential. Like obviously, like an ADP or like one of those like clock in clock out type things, salary and all that crap. That's important on day one because
Yeah.
you got to get them paid. Probably signing them up for their benefits package and stuff. That's probably another login, getting that figured out. I mean, there's obviously an order to the madness.
Yeah.
Method to the madness, better way to say it. But
I don't know about you guys, but from the other end of the spectrum, when you are onboarding someone, I take a very hard look at how they present themselves and how they come in dressed the first day. Like if you come in dressed, not suit and tie, but maybe a button-down shirt and some slacks versus jeans and an untucked shirt, that from jump, that might not be who you are, and you might be able to showcase that over time. But you set a tone when you walk in, at least in my opinion, that you're here, you're ready for business, you're ready to kick ass. Now I know everyone feels differently, but I do look at that, and that sets a tone.
I look at that as well. I do. I think it is important to listen. At the end of the day, if you aren't putting in the little things to help enhance yourself and make yourself better, right? Dressing better, feeling better, looking better. If you just come in and look like you just woke up, it's difficult for me to say that you're prepared for something that I'm going to throw at you. It is.
I love what you said about the little things matter, man. They add up over time into big things. So from the beginning, if you're focusing on those little things, you're going to put yourself in a position to, be successful.
More so than anybody can think. It's those little things that really do add up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
curveball. Back to the conversation of what would you tell yourself or give feedback to someone that's about to do it. Ask the question, hey, what's your guys' dress code? What's the culture like? To understand how you should come in your first day.
I've never been asked what the culture is like, but I've worked really hard over the last couple of years to build a culture. But I have been asked dress code issues because it is with those newer, especially like tech-based companies, it is more laid back. Like, I believe in suit and tie every day. Like if I probably in the right place, right time, I'd wear a suit and tie every day.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessary for everybody. If you're working behind the computer and stuff and no one's going to see you, like what are you wearing a tie for? If you take minimal amount of video calls, or if you're in minimal amount of meetings or only with your team, I don't know if you need to be a suit and tie all day.
I just fall back on dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So coming in, if you tell me the dress code is jeans, I'm coming in with slacks. Just that helps me from a mental standpoint to lock in. Still, you got to do the job, but it kind of just helps. That's how I look at it.
I really think that you cannot overdress, but you can
Agreed.
underdress.
Yes.
And when you underdress, it is really awkward. Like I have been in places where I've seen people and I'm just like, ooh. And I've been that guy where I'm like, maybe I should have wore a tie.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
It's better to overdress for sure,
Yeah.
to be safe. But to your point with like the tech, like companies and whatnot, like I walk into my customer that's all technology developers, coders. They're not wearing friggin' dress shirts and a polo. They're wearing shirts and shorts. But I'm not wearing that. Clearly, I'll have slacks and a polo,
hoodie.
pullover. Yeah.
No hoodie, coding.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, to your point, I think it's fair, right? You got to show up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're starting out, right? The first thing you can control is how people are going to
Perception.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What did we always hear when we're in college? Take 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To really start to judge somebody or perception, right?
That's right.
But I have seen those people going out into talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. You meet with some people and you're like, those 6 seconds I wouldn't have allocated to the proper amount of time to come up with a consensus of who you are.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because it's completely different than who I think you are after we sat down and talked. And I think it's hard these days to look at that. I think 20 years ago, the guy in a suit and tie, like, okay, he's doing this and he's in this position. Now, you see someone just in shorts and a t-shirt and they're the same accolades, same level. It's just they're wearing something different. So it's hard to read that in a room.
I think another thing I tell myself going in is just be patient. It truly is key because we're in a time right now where we want everything now. We want it instantaneously, whatever it is. But when you come into the workforce, it's going to take you time to gain experience. It's going to take you time to just learn. So understand that going in and don't get frustrated with how long it's taking. Know that that's a part of it. Now, yes, you can speed things up, but just go in knowing that things are going to take time to evolve for you to get comfortable, for you to be able to showcase your skills.
Yeah.
To your sponge comment, one of the biggest things, I haven't been able to start a new job in a long time. So I always told myself this is one of the things I should have done back in the day that I would love to do if I ever get to start fresh again. And I would take as many notes and try to cultivate an organized knowledge base, because what I've learned the most in my job, it's not knowing everything offhand, but being able to access the answer quickly is huge.
Yeah.
Huge. If you can tell someone, hey, I just don't know right now, or don't quote me on this, I think it's this, and then follow up with an email within like 20 minutes and give them that answer because you've cultivated this beautiful knowledge base, resources, internal materials, policies, procedures, anything like that. It only is going to help you, but it does take a lot of time, and I think it's worth it. That's the one thing I wish I thought through, like how could I make it, set up myself for success, future-proof it.
For me, I think if we're looking at something that I think is valuable based off of the position that I'm in, I can see that for your position, definitely. For me, I think the one key thing that's really important is the ability to respond appropriately to circumstances. I have seen people deal with very stressful and difficult challenges, but their response to those challenges add to the challenge. And it doesn't help to get in an uproar about certain things. Now, it's hard. It's hard to sit there and evaluate the circumstances and not get upset and not let emotion play. And it becomes emotionless at a certain point when you deal with it a lot. And that's where I've gotten in some circumstances. But I think you have to literally take a step back and say, okay, this is what I'm dealing with, and what am I going to do about it? And come up with a solution. And when you do come up with a solution, to remain as emotionally strong throughout that process as possible is super, super beneficial. Because if I freak out, it's not going to make the circumstances any better for anybody. So managing that is huge. Welcome to Hot Takes, where we talk about debatable topics. Today's topic is, should you put in your 2 weeks? James?
Not needed.
I concur. Not needed.
Yes.
Yes. Ty, what do you think?
I've done it before when I probably shouldn't have, so I'll say yes. I'll still say yes.
Oh, interesting.
Ty, explain.
He's teetering.
They didn't deserve it.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
You're making the argument for me.
He's on the fence.
All right, which is good because
we got some work to do, but I think we can turn him around.
Listen, you don't owe the company anything. If you're ready to leave, you have every right to leave if you don't care about the manner in which you leave. Once you say you're out, they don't care about you, you don't care about them, you're on to the next one.
you say you don't owe them anything, but here's the thing: they're paying your paycheck every 2 weeks.
Not if you've already acquired a new paycheck.
That's an agreement. You made an agreement. You talked a deal with a company. Hey, I'm going to perform these tasks for you, and you're going to pay me for them. Clear.
Well, if
They no longer want you, they're firing your ass. You no longer get paid. You could still perform those same tasks for them if you want for free. I don't think that's going to fly, but
True. I mean, from an employee perspective, I guess I see it, but from an owner perspective, it's completely different, because if someone just cuts on me, it's a lot of work for that business to have to replace or step in to move and acquire the tasks that are being left on the table.
For sure.
So from that perspective, it's a lot of cleanup and a lot of issues there, and it really is, harmful for a short period of time.
I don't want to put you on the spot here, Johnny, but to his point, because you're in kind of placement. What is like the upfront cost for placing someone versus just like taking someone from another department and just using them there? Do you? I don't know. It's
Like internally?
yeah, internally, yeah. It costs more, right? So
Yeah,
obviously
of
losing
course.
someone like an upfront cost, it's like a crazy amount to onboard,
Significantly.
right?
Yeah, onboarding, I mean,
Yeah.
depending on what they're doing.
Correct.
I mean, between the burden, just paying for PTO,
Mhm.
benefits, 401k, like all the things you don't even think about.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
unemployment, all those factors, you don't think about those little things
Yeah.
which accrue, and the costs definitely go up. And obviously you have experience with this from being a business owner, but
Yeah.
I just think it's the professional thing to do. Now, clearly, if you are going in to put in your notice or tell your boss or tell your company you're leaving and there's some animosity, there's clearly no reason to stick around. However, I think the right thing to do is to put in a notice. Now, if your customer or your client or the person you're working for says like, hey, we'd like you to stay for 2 weeks, I don't know. I feel like you should, but I also understand the other side too.
I think it goes into how the question's being asked. It's like you said, what your path in the company, what
Bless
they've
you.
done for you,
Thank you.
you know, your thoughts on the company.
Trying to
Are you
hold that.
leaving and you want to leave like you care about what happens to the company, so you're offering the 2 weeks because you want to get back, or you don't give a shit because you're out. You're not obligated to give them 2 weeks. So it's more about your thoughts on the company and how you want to be remembered when you leave.
I think though you have to, as an individual, I think you have to think about the potential issues that you're going to cause if you do burn that bridge. If you leave and you
Companies
do it spitefully, if you do it spitefully, and someone calls me and says, "Oh, how's Ryan?" I'm going to be flat out, Ryan, disrespectful. You just cut on us, and I mean, no, I do not give my honorable mention of Ryan because he screwed us.
Even if he did an amazing job for you for over years and years and years and just wanted to change.
To be fair,
Yeah, but if you want to change gracefully like that, you give someone your 2 weeks. You don't just fuck them.
well, yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but if that other company's going to needs him now, and that's the offer, what are they going to do?
Yeah, I mean, if you have that discussion, right? If there's like a really strong mutual respect to each other, and someone came to me and said, "Listen, I have this opportunity, and unfortunately, the window of 2 weeks is just not there," I would give it to them. If
So
the
it's
respect is
how
there.
they approach it, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the approach. I would say, like, I understand. I'm not gonna. I'll work harder and faster. I'll pick up those tasks myself, and it just has to happen. So I do agree in that sense. If it's done gracefully,
Yeah, I mean, if it's done maliciously, then yeah, I agree with you, of course, because now you're pissed off. But to say every single time that someone would to quit, and that's the only thing I just want to make sure I checked you on, my guy.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
if
that would be a
I'm
different
leaving
story.
without 2 weeks, I'm probably not banking on Ken Massa giving his blessing. Like, I'm either jumping to a different industry or whatever I already have taken care of. I don't foresee, or I'm not worrying about his feedback about me. But that goes back to, like you said, the relationship, the partnership up to that point, and if you want to leave in a good place or not. But you're not, based off the question, you're not required to leave in a good place, which is why I say no.
No, you're not required, but I see it as, and think about this. If you're constantly trying to grow, if you spend 3 years busting your ass at a company, working hard, supporting that company, growing towards a mission, a goal, acquiring their vision and values, and then you cut because of something short-sighted and you bounce, and then you don't want to use that as a source of helping you build into the career that you're looking to build in, I see that as a 3-year loss. You just wasted 3 years. Dumb. I just think that that's dumb. You wasted 3 years, especially if you gained skillful and beneficial characteristics in that company. Now you can't even leverage them or talk about them because you're afraid that someone's going to call that person as a reference and you're screwed. Got ya.
well, no, you're talking about such extreme situations.
Well, I mean,
If
think
someone
if
got so much value out of a company over 3 years and they're leaving, they're
They're
probably
putting in 2
going on to something bigger.
yeah, and they're going to
Probably
put in their
leaving in
2
a good
weeks,
place.
but they're going to leave in 2 weeks.
But they're not
Yeah.
required to. It's all in the question.
It's a courtesy.
Yeah, it's all, like,
It is a
absolutely.
courtesy.
2 weeks is a
ethical,
courtesy.
morally, like you just put in your 2 weeks.
It's a courtesy.
It's just I feel like society has built it around being the rule.
True, but again, if someone said, "Hey, I have a week and a 2," and it's all hunky dory and you guys are awesome and everything's fine, then it's not 2 weeks; it's 1 week, whatever.
Or sometimes you offer the company, hey, like this job doesn't need me right away. I'll give you a month if you need it, because I understand how crucial my role is, and to offboard me is going to be,
critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, you are replaceable. If you were to get, it's kind of also the other saying too is, I mean, anything can fucking happen to people, right? Quitting is a hard and fast judgment decision. But if something were to happen to them, a car accident, bad illness, that's where I'm going with this. It's a little morbid, but
No, it's good. You're on that side.
Didn't you just say that I
someone's
was
gonna pick
taking an
up-
extreme on this?
Huh?
Didn't you just say I was taking an extreme on this? That's an
Yeah. I'm giving you an extreme. I'm trying to.
We have to match your.
I'm
extreme
debating
with our
here.
extreme.
Therefore, I'm trying to paint a picture of you are replaceable. So you go on vacation, people pick up your slack.
Yeah.
You have an illness or you have a kid, month you're gone, your slack is picked up. You're a woman and you have a kid, 3 months you're out for most places. I laws and stuff.
Should be like 6 or 9.
I know, honestly, it's insane, but
Be nice.
you are replaceable. You're not that integrated. The company will find a way.
Yeah.
Now, if the company's really struggling, like obviously it sucks, but most people are probably bouncing because the company's struggling.
If it's struggling and it's not due to the actual manpower and the amount of individuals in the environment, okay. But if they are struggling, it's probably a bigger picture, and that has to do with,
cyclical.
it's got to do with the company and the culture and whatever's going on inside the
Economy.
but whatever.
There's so many different things.
There's so many factors.
Do they deserve my 2 weeks?
It's not so much about do they deserve your 2 weeks or not. Like at the end of the day, if you don't put in your notice, you don't put in your notice.
What about your mental health?
What do you
Maybe
mean?
this job's just been dragging you down, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's awful. Just, you need to get out. Like, it's for you. For you, you're leaving.
Well,
That's
so,
like
toxic
so
environment.
you're
You wanna
gonna cop out and
or-
just be like, "Oh, I'm done. I quit."
Or, like, you don't want to go the route of suing a company and there's some shady shit going on and you don't feel comfortable and you want to leave. But you just want to cut ties and get out of there. I'm sorry. But
That's a cop out.
Again, you still don't need to. There's illegal shit
Keep it
happening
going,
and you want to
James.
leave.
Cook 'em.
I'm sorry, but I think I've got you on this one.
You definitely do now. You're just
You're being-
You're basically saying if you want to quit, it's okay to be a quitter. No,
All right, no, you're playing a different ball game there, homie.
You just
I'm not
said-
saying about
you just
quitting.
said drop it.
I'm saying moving on to something different, better for you. That's going to elevate your game. Aren't
That's
you
okay.
all about elevating, Kenny?
I am all about
I wanna
elevating, but if you're
elevate
burning the
myself.
bridge on the way out, you're fucking yourself. While the door is closing,
That's your decision
You're basically saying, I'm burning that bridge.
But that's your decision.
No, it's not a decision. It's a burnt bridge.
hey, Ron,
You
what
decided- I'm saying you decided to burn the bridge.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me. Ty,
What?
which way you going?
I agree. It's a courtesy, but
It's the right thing.
If you can afford it mentally and otherwise, I'd say it's still probably put in 2 weeks.
Damn.
You son of a
Yeah, dude.
biscuit.
See, it's the courtesy because
It's
you
just
know what?
courtesy, that's it.
If you want to keep growing, you have
The
to
question was
respect-
required, not courtesy. Is
Was it
required?
required?
It's not.
It's always the
Was
middle,
that the
right?
original?
Doesn't
question?
matter. Ty didn't pick us.
Was it required?
It should you.
It should you put in your
Should you? Yes. Is it fucking required?
No, it's
No.
not required. Or otherwise.
Where did 2 week
states
notice
and-
even come from?
You on my team now?
I'm not on anybody's team.
No,
but
come on,
You
come on.
should put in your notice.
Everything
You
online
should
says
put
it's just a professional courtesy.
That's it.
Part of being like a professional, just how
It's
you.
not a legally binding thing.
No.
Agreed. But you should put in your 2 weeks.
If someone on my team put in their notice tomorrow, I would hope that they'd give me a 2 week notice.
As would I.
I wouldn't
and-
put my 2 weeks notice into when I'm breaking up with someone. Terrible.
Tomato, dude. You
Yeah,
got
I know.
But again, you're not looking to benefit off of that relationship. You don't care. You're cutting that. You're done. You're trying to benefit off of that relationship. To
Well, you're
then
not
grow
trying.
your
You're trying not to leave the company high and dry. Are we done here?
Yeah,
Are
we're
we-
done.
We're
Ty-
clearly
Ty already
lost.
picked
We
again.
win.
Clearly lost. I can keep
We
going.
win, we
I-
win.
you know, I still think you have some flawed arguments there, Kenny. But hey,
No, just be courteous.
Next time we're gonna let you two debate, and John and I are gonna eat popcorn.
how about wait? Like, can we debate you guys? Because I think that could.
We gotta find a topic.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
On the next one.
Until next time. Thanks
Should
a
you
lot.
put in a 2-week notice?
You should put in your 2-week notice.
Comment if you agree with us.
Don't have
Or
to.
disagree.
And if you haven't,
Don't feel pressured.
we want to hear the story.
But you should do it.
But you should.
Shouldn't.
You should.
Fuck that company.
I don't know, man. I know we talked a lot about what we tell our previous selves, but this is for anyone who's starting a new job: is please do not pull out your cell phone and like as you're going through training. Don't have that distraction because it's not a good look. And if you're remote and no one's seeing it, you're just hurting yourself in the end. Like, be fully bought in, be invested for this opportunity.
What about these guys? We're all wearing them.
Yeah.
That's new. I didn't have this when I started.
You're right. It's just try to eliminate those distractions.
I agree. I also think it goes both ways.
How so?
Just with the individual you're onboarded with, you're working with, you're reporting to.
Oh, absolutely. I would agree with that.
Because
Yeah.
I think also people catch on to those little things. It's like, all right, that person's on their phone.
Back to the little things.
Yeah.
Like what I've started doing, especially when it comes to onboarding, if I have like someone come into my office or like pull me aside in the pit, like I started closing my laptop and putting my phone down. Because it's like, all right, I'm engaged with you, but I'm trying to knock out 3 different things, multitasking. And it's just better to attack one-on-one and obviously give them the time of day because they're coming and asking you. So give them that respect.
Yeah.
And we don't even recognize it sometimes.
Yeah.
Even like our watches.
Stuff.
It is hard, especially when we got 1,000 things going on.
One of my favorite comments that I've ever gotten when I first started out, I was in a unique role where I got to meet with executives right out the gate, and the executives noticed that I didn't have a cell phone with me at the meeting. That was when in-person meetings were a thing. So we would be in the conference room. I would pen and paper. Wasn't really big on laptops yet. I wasn't too integrated just yet to where like it's important for like I was almost running meetings towards the end too, where like I was sharing my screen, so that's why I needed my laptop. But yet no cell phone, nothing, and they were like, "You don't have your phone on you at all?" I was like, "No, I don't need it. I'm here. I'm engaged. We have a meeting. I'm supposed to be involved."
Which
In the moment.
Yeah.
almost seems like, wow. But
Yeah.
think about like, where did you get that from? Like, where does that come from?
I don't know.
Us eating dinner as a friend group, we put our phones in the middle of the table.
We used to do that. We do that still sometimes.
True.
Now we make it a little bit more creative where it's like you pick up your phone, you're paying for the bill.
Yeah.
But also I think just like growing up with playing sports, obviously just like, God forbid your phone went off in a meeting.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
You and the whole team's running, man.
and
Film
I don't know
sessions.
if you guys have noticed this. The amount of people who like are listening and taking notes or like putting it on their like computer, it's mind blowing. It's almost like they're not even paying attention.
Yeah.
Because like you actually ask them a question like, "Hey, what
kinda
have you
how-
actually listened to?"
How college classes go, right?
Yeah.
You're taking notes on your laptop. Like you're actually listening. It just doesn't seem that way. It looks like you're working on something else. Like you're curating an email to send to someone else and some other.
You know what's really interesting? Now, I get on. Everyone gets on a lot. I don't know if you're getting on internal calls or external calls. I mean, you and I probably get on more external calls.
More internal.
On the external calls, and same thing with you, Ron. You're probably more internal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For the external calls, more and more frequently now, I'm seeing those AI chatbots come into the meeting room, and it's like you and Joe are here with an AI chatbot. And I'm just like, damn it. So it's just like recording you the whole time, and it's
is
literally
wild.
it's literally just
You guys are meeting with AI chatbot.
it's well, what it does the whole time is it literally just records the whole thing, and then it'll spit you back out it'll like write a text prompt the entire thing, and some of them even jot down notes and highlight things and bring in like hot points where people are like more like it's crazy.
Tracks the numbers. Like if you brought up an actual metric, like we use that too.
Is there no legality on asking
So
for recording?
it has to mention it in the beginning, and then if they don't
What
like
if you
it,
missed it?
You better not.
then it is what it is. It's set like for the feature we use, it addresses it right in the beginning. As soon as that person logs on and you hear them, it says this is being recorded for note-taking purposes.
Some of them don't though, like they don't.
Yeah, that's illegal because it's just as bad as if you pull out your phone and record someone in the room.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I don't know the legalities of it. I just tell you it's on those calls.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot more frequent now on external calls, and I get on calls with like different businesses all the time, and it's far more frequent.
yeah, that's interesting.
To get away from the legalities of it, one thing I want to hit on is we hit on. Wow, stop saying that. Just kidding.
It's okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
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 Right. Your first days, your first months early on, and then you're going to transition. You're going to progress. You're going to get into those promotional opportunities where you're trying to grow your career. And I think one thing to share with everyone, and we probably have all experienced this, is you're going to run into failure. You're not going to get that job or that promotion. And everyone is looking at how you respond.
Yeah.
And a lot of people learn a lot about individuals from how they respond from failures than from success. So that's a big thing for people to remember is when you hit that wall, you got to respond in a positive manner because people are watching. How are you going to react?
It's way easier to bring negative energy than positive.
It
energy.
is.
Sales has been a massive beneficial tool for acquiring that rapidly, because I mean, call 100 people cold, send 100 cold emails, knock on 100 doors, go to a networking meeting and talk to 100 people that you don't know. Like, the numbers are just staggeringly low for you to acquire a relationship. 1, 2, 3 cold email, one person might be responding on 100, and that would be a 1% like opt-in rate, which is like, it's difficult. So I'm not saying you're failing if someone's not responding to you, but it isn't the response you're looking for.
Right.
Well, it's like, what's coming from that? Like, all right, you're dealing with failure, you're dealing with rejection. It's like, how do you bounce back, and what are you doing moving forward? And unfortunately, many people just can't push through that, like, which sucks. And I think we've all been guilty at one point. You know, let's go back to the good old Ted Lasso, be a goldfish, short-term memory.
Hey.
Just got to let it be and move on. And that's something I've struggled with early in my professional career. Now it's like, it is what it is. You just go through it so often.
Exactly.
And then you get better, you learn.
Another day on the job.
That's it.
I'd like to share a quote on this, actually. This is something that I really like. I forgot how exactly it went, but I've used this before. It's by John C. Maxwell. Fail early, fail often, but always fail forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
It's big time.
It's so accurate.
Yeah.
We learn.
I like
we learn
that.
from our failures. And I also like what you said about with the positivity. I don't remember how you worded it, but you can control your positivity. You can control the energy you bring. Even if you're not 100%, you can fake that. And guess what? That can be contagious versus showcasing that negative energy and bringing people down. Like, you can control your mentality.
You definitely can.
Yeah. I'm curious to get y'all's perspective, especially you guys have people who report to you. Do you feel like there's a sense of, like, people feel like they're deserving of something, or like there's just not the patience?
Entitlement.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Like,
Big word.
when it comes around to annual reviews and whether or not they're entitled for a raise,
Yeah.
or as you put, you're potentially up for a promotion, and
Yeah.
why didn't I get it? You know?
Yeah. And I preface this because I think patience is key, like, and people got to understand that. However, it's interesting because I felt that before, where it's like,
Before we get into that, as far as patience is key, loyalty is part of that, right? Because, like, you want to stay with the company, and I feel like some companies want loyalty, but there's a big thing going around lately that you need to, like, move around jobs to start making more money, like every 2 to 3 years.
The jumps,
Oh,
if
yeah.
your
So-
opportunities, if you stay there versus jumping, you can make a
Career
lot more.
progression,
Yeah,
growth.
I've heard that.
I don't know. The long live, you know.
you know what comes with loyalty? Your 2-week notice.
Oh, dude.
We're
gonna get into that.
Yep, that one stung.
That's fair. That's fair.
I know, but I would refer to that as that's like shiny object syndrome. I think they're just trying to chase the next big thing, but unfortunately, typically,
Society's influence too.
more typically than not, I think that bites someone in the ass.
Well, it's just funny to mention it because we've all been
Yeah, no.
around
well,
our jobs for so long.
And it's like, I mean, we were just talking about what this individual could be getting paid for reporting in Excel.
Yeah.
But salespeople, you see them on to the next job every year, and they're just getting the higher paycheck and the higher commission tier. They don't even do that well, and they're on to the next one.
But
You're
I think
seeing
they're chasing, and then what happens is everybody's like, oh, you know, be a mortgage guy, be a realtor. What happens when those rates are 8%? Was it a good switch? You know, I think that they're chasing, and I don't think that it's a good thing to chase. I think it's a good thing to get into something, get good at it, get great at it, and keep doing it to the point where you're just completely at the top of your game and you're better than everyone else. And I think the long-term play is going to pay out. Now, of course, there's times you have to switch industries, but to keep chasing to try to find the bigger buck, it's going to bite you in the ass.
100%.
For example, when you chase something, the market shifts and then you're fucked.
Too much fake it till you make it too on that. Because I mean, 2-3 years, I feel like if I were to go into a managerial role now and it would take me 2-3 years just to make a mark, like actually impact it. Like I'd have to learn their processes and systems to be able to integrate or elevate their stuff in any way, shape, or form. And process improvement takes time because you have to understand what the process is and then where the gaps are and how you can make better efficiencies. But anyways, back to your question. It was remind me.
About entitlement and people
Entitlement,
trying to advance their careers and rush it. Not rush it, but
Just felt like
expecting from
expectations are maybe
Yeah.
a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
listen, I think maybe all of us here, I don't know, I've been passed up on a promotion, and you know what? I learned a lot from that, and I'm so proud of the person that got the job over me. And it was one of the biggest learning moments for me, and I'm thankful for it because I've learned so much from that. But like, I feel like the first instinct now, it's like, well, why did that person deserve it over me? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, focus on the negative things and not like, hey, how can I become a better person or a better professional or a better colleague, whatever, and just focus on the wrong thing.
So you're asking it from the individual point of view, not like the managerial point of view.
Just overall, whether you have someone reporting to you or not, or just perception.
I hate to play this card, but I think we're a little bit different. We probably have come into work with a different mindset that's a little out as an outlier to like everyone has the sayings on like how the generation is, right? The millennials and it's a mindset. Like you probably saw that as, okay, well now I'm going to really kick some ass and I'm going to show them I am worthy of this. Not trying to shun the person that got it because they definitely were deserving. Like you said, you were proud of them.
Yeah.
But now it's going to kick your ass into gear.
Yeah. And listen, that person is one of my closest colleagues.
Yeah.
I consider that person a great friend.
And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but the way social media is and how quickly Ubers and Uber Eats and like all these things, like things are coming to you so fast. I mean, Amazon Prime. I ordered Super B Complex or whatever the hell.
Biotin? Oh.
It was at my door the next day by 6 o'clock.
Dude, some of them are there that day.
I know. I've gotten packages within like 5 hours.
This was supposed to be here between 2 and 5.
And then you get upset because, I got to pay for shipping. It's going to take a week. I think that mentality is starting to get ingrained in the workforce.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's making that impact on like the entitlement stuff. So I don't know. We could be outliers. We could be old souls. I just don't think we have that mindset, but I am seeing it in the workplace.
That's why you got to preach from the beginning. Patience is key. From a management standpoint, you got to be transparent.
Oh, yeah.
You got to let them know
that expectations.
It's not a surprise, right? But on the flip side, the mindset, we're competitive as fuck. You got to come in with the competitive mentality so that when you get that negative feedback, instead of focusing on the negatives, you're ready to kick ass, right? Make those adjustments and show them next time, okay, you're not going to pass me up, and here's why. Here's all the things I've done and how I've grown.
100%.
It's what you focus on.
I think mentality is a really big key to that. The unfortunate thing is that I don't think that everyone thinks that way. And I think that what happens is that they get passed up on something or something happens because of the characteristics that they embody at that point in time, and opposed to taking it as a growing moment and a time to move forward and become something bigger and better. What they do is they just opt out, and then they swap, career paths, or they move to a different opportunity, which, is sometimes it's good and bad, but I think what they should do is take that as a growing moment every time.
Well, let's stay on that for a second because you brought it up. How you said the person is your mentor, one of your closest.
Yeah, technically.
Even
I
if they
report
weren't, though,
to.
you still may have to report to them. You have to be able to still operate with people you may not like or someone you may have some bad mojo with because they got the job over you. You got to be able to still operate and not have that affect you. Count the hit.
You do.
Yeah, and I think if you're... Listen, obviously there's things where people do certain things that you don't like. If you're an individual who's looking to grow and be better, if you're actually at the point where you're not liking someone, you might have to take a look at the mirror and see, like, is it me or is it that person the problem? Now, there are some things where people do some crazy stuff. However, I don't know. I think, again, perception is reality, and people are just, they think they're better than maybe they really are.
I think constructive criticism is a difficult thing because I think from the management level, when offering constructive criticism, I think that people get weary about that because they're like, they don't want to hurt a feeling, or they don't want to say something that's going to cause issues or cause any type of work problems. But I think in reality, from the other side of the perspective, the person receiving the constructive criticism, I think that people have to be more open to it. I think that there has to be more sense of, hey, this is what's going on. This is what the expectations are. And then if you hear that, if you're on the receiving end of it, you should be like, okay, well, I understand that. I do. You may not agree with it, but you not agreeing with it could be the problem. And if you do come to an agreement with it, it could excel your career drastically.
Yeah.
But it's hard for both ends of that. So there is a constant struggle on that.
Managing people is hard.
Constructive feedback, giving or receiving.
Yeah.
It's
Really
a
tough.
fun one, that's for sure.
The best part about the job is the people, their successes and enjoying that. And the worst part about the job is the people, because having to go through those different challenges that are brought up, and you never know which way it's going to go. Constructive criticism, different personalities. You got to be able to kind of interact with that.
It's important to cultivate relationships.
It is.
In your, especially, so you have interdepartmental, which is your internal department, but then you have intradepartmental. Those are the ones that will elevate your game, right? Because not only is your face and your name out there with other departments, just in case you maybe find something that you're really interested in and you want to make a switch internally, but also, like, if you need to solve a problem and you need help from some other department, they're going to be way more willing to work with you. Collaboration, oh my goodness, it's the only thing that can help make a company survive. If everything's siloed, oh man, it's just people just butting heads. It makes things very hard to get to the finish line. Very hard.
One thing that I try to do, just thinking of this conversation, is, and I think that a lot of companies, from the feedback that I've gotten from a management level, is when there is a problem, it might be, it doesn't matter, a department problem or a position problem. When there is a problem or there is a struggle between a team internally, it's usually because there's two opinions on one event. There's, whether it's a strategy or it's a process or it's whatever comes up. I think there is, the majority of the time, a way to come to a decision where both parties do win. I think that where it becomes difficult is when management level doesn't want to get flexible and open-minded, and they don't want to bend a policy to change. But I think bending a policy to change can help improve both departments and scale both departments. I understand rules and regulations are in place, and processes are in place, but I think processes can sometimes become improved by third-party thought processes.
Just don't bend policies to make things illegal, please.
I'm not talking about illegal. I'm talking about,
That's
Mr. Compliance.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
I'm not talking about bending things illegally. I'm talking about, like, hey, this is how we do it. But if you can do it this way, then it might shave 7 minutes off the process. And we typically don't do it that way. So the manager is going to say we don't do it that way. But
Exceptions.
The team member
Making
might say,
exception.
hey, if we do this more frequently, we save 7 minutes time off every time we do this. And effectively, it could save us 4 hours a week. Might want to change that policy.
Ryan, what's your favorite thing about or what's your most important rule of thumb when you're in a relationship?
Compromise.
Thank you.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. I think that's exactly.
But curveball. Have you guys ever had to deal with someone crossing over departmental lines and that shouldn't be? Like, they are stepping over the line and trying to influence how your department should be operating and stepping over your toes, making decisions for your department and things, how you guys manage things, policies, procedures
from another department?
from another department.
You got to put them in
That's
line.
no place.
You got to check them, and
What
just,
if they're a higher level than you?
then
Well-
you have to work with your leadership team to get on the same page.
So essentially what you're saying is you have to have someone that has your back.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
big.
you do.
That's big. And again, kind of comes back to cultivating relationships, interdepartmental,
Yeah.
intra. Make sure you set the tone. But I also don't think you should back down.
You got to dig in. You got to
Executives, senior management, they're all people. And we're all striving for a common goal. Kind of goes to the compromise and trying to work for a solution. Yeah, obviously something we're doing is pissing you off and you are wanting to change that and make it this and shape it in your own way. However, you're in charge of your own departments. We'll figure out a way to maybe meet you halfway here, but you got to pump the brakes. You can't just be waltzing in here and trying to do stuff. It's an interesting concept. Doesn't happen very often. Doesn't happen very
You'd also
often.
have to be at a large company for that to happen because the infrastructure would have to be large enough.
Yeah,
to have
probably
to be segmented.
500 employees, maybe something around there. 250 is probably big too.
Yeah, 250.
Mid-size, what's mid-size? Probably like
Mid is pretty
250 to
big.
500, I think. But then you also have the 1,000 plus, but then you also have the Amazons.
Yeah.
Right? And it's enterprise level or whatever you want to call it.
Multiple floors, a lot of people. There you go.
Well, I think that there's a lot to be done on professionalism as a whole. I think that it is a wide open category with tons of subcategories on how to be professional in the workplace. But I think that the key to all of it is remaining open-minded, continuing to look at things from a growth-minded perspective, continuing to excel in your position. Don't have shiny object syndrome because it's not always going to be the best thing for you. But take things for what they are. Be calm, cool, collected.
Be a sponge.
Be a sponge.
Fail early, fail often, fail forward. All the things.
Be everybody's bro.
Be
Everybody's brother, so someone can have your back. There you go.
go.
And the bender continues.